Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my interview experience with Capgemini for .NET Full Stack Developer position. I already have shared the first part of it and also the first part of my Deloitte interview experience, which you will find in the description and the pinned comment. So make sure you have already watched it. And also a humble request to, like this video and share it with your friend and also subscribe so that you don't miss out on upcoming videos because Capgemini interview was so long and lengthy that I had to create in different parts. One very important thing I'll tell you now that when I got the call from HR that if I'm looking for a job or not, I literally had to go through a lot of interviews because one thing I realized about Capgemini is that they share your resume to different accounts and you will be getting call for interview back to back. So sometimes you might end up, giving 8 to 10 interviews. So don't panic because even I was like, whether I'm able to clear that round or not, why so many rounds are happening. But it's very, usual. So once I cleared all the round, then I received the offer, which unfortunately I had to deny because by that time I already got the offers from Hitachi, which was better in terms of CTC and the project itself. Because Hitachi is basically a product come service organization. So I was selected for a product. So the interview experience was really nice. I will create I'll share a very separate video where I'll be explaining every each and every step how everything worked in Hitachi interview. It had coding round, system design round, and so many. So I'll create a separate video for that. Now I'll give you a very small piece of advice here that whenever you are in an interview, you try to substantiate your answer with the real example. Okay. Also, how you have used that concept in your project. If you do that, 50% of battle is already done. You'll be 50% good. Interviewer will not think that you might not have worked in a project and you're faking your experience. So that's one thing which has worked really well for me. And I'm quite sure it will work for you as well. So let's start discussing the first question of part 2 video series. Here, the first question is, what is the difference between const and read only? As we already know that both helps us to, create a constant variable. But there is a slight difference here. Const variable are declared at declared and values assigned at the compile time. So whenever JIT compiler comes and compiles your code into intermediate language, by that time value is required. So whenever you declare it, you have to initialize basically the value, right? Now, second difference, second point with the const is that it supports only primitive data type, int, float, and so on, along with string. The third is once the value is assigned, you cannot change it. Okay. Now, when you talk about read only, the value has to be initialized during the runtime. You don't have to declare it immediately. I mean, while declaration, but you have to do it before the runtime. It supports complex data type, reference type, okay, and it is very safe for versioning and all because when you have different combination of classes, then this really helps us achieve that. And how I explained that I worked on read only is that when if you remember or if you recall that whenever you we are using dependency injection, we are using read only. The reason is that because the value has to be assigned at the runtime. Once you I mean, if let's say we use const, the problem is that value cannot be updated or changed. But read only allows that. Okay. Then there was a very interesting follow-up question. Okay. Suppose we have this one. Read only keyword. The question was, can the content of read only list be modified? So if you see, let's say currently we have some value. Okay. Let's say product one, product two, product three. Can we go ahead and update the product or delete the product? Answer is yes. That is not possible with const, but it is possible with read only. Okay. Content will change, but the reference point will not change. The reference point is immutable, but the value inside all this can be updated. So this can come up as a follow-up question. So make sure you understand this concept very clearly. Now the question was boxing versus unboxing, which is very usual and it comes in every C#.NET interview. So please clarify it very nicely. And I'm really sorry, guys. I've got very bad cold, so I might not, very audible properly. But focus on the content, not on extra thing. So yeah, so boxing basically converts a value type to object reference type. Okay, what does this mean? Means whenever, let's say, you have an integer variable and it has got value of n, but when you are converting this object to sorry, when you're converting this variable into object, what happens is that initially value will be on stack. Okay, because primitive data types are stored on stack. Now you are taking that one and creating a new one on heap. So this extra overhead actually creates the slowness in the program. Okay, so we must usually avoid it, but sometimes it's unavoidable as well. Okay, so if you see in boxing, Sailor has to create a new object on heap. Okay, the value will not change on the stack, it will be there, but there's an extra value it has to create, and that will be pointing to that one. Okay, so once the pointer gets cleared, the value on the heap will be roaming just randomly. So that's where garbage collector also has to come and clean that up. So lot of extra overhead, if you see, has got to be introduced in order to achieve this boxing thing. On the other hand, when we're doing unboxing, let's say the object was uh, already on the heap. Now you're converting it into the primitive data type. The, the problem could happen with this is value of data loss. Data loss is the main reason we should avoid unboxing. So whenever you are asked like what is the difference between boxing and unboxing, boxing is moving data from riveting data stack to the heap, and unboxing is reversal of that. So both requires CLR to do extra work, which we don't want to. Okay. Yeah. So value while unboxing, values has got to be copied from heap to stack. Okay, all these are extra effort, and once the value is copied, the value which was the object which was on the heap again will be roaming randomly. Again, garbage collector has to come and clean that up. So all this extra effort which we put on CLR actually reduces the performance. So that's the core idea. So make sure you make them very clear while answering this question. Okay, so let's say if you have understood what is boxing and unboxing, the follow-up question was they gave me actually HR, I mean the interviewer gave me a code snippet like object A equals to 2, object B equals to 10. Okay, so both our value are same. Now if we print A equals to B, what will be the output? Is it true or false? Please put this in the comment box. I want to know that do you really understood boxing and unboxing thing or not? Value type or reference type. Do you understand these things or not? The answer is no. Though the values are same, but reference pointer is different. So address of different reference pointer will be different. And that's exactly when they will be equated with the reference pointer, address. It will be different. So answer will be false. You can take this snapshot and use it in the interview. Okay. So equals to variable is going to equate through reference object. Since they are pointing to different address, it will come as a false. Okay. Now, yes. What is the difference between throw and throw EX? Okay. Throw is something whenever an exception happened, preserves the original stack trace. Okay. Throw EX is something which actually clears all the stack trace and create the new one. So whenever you're using in the project, try to avoid using throw EX. Okay. Try to use throw because it helps you to preserve the original stack trace so that you know exactly which are the other points where exception might have occurred. Otherwise, you'll lose out on the original stack trace, which we don't want to. Okay. Now the question was in memory management. Yeah. So where the class member stored, yeah. So he gave me this code snippet where he has defined a class and class fields. Okay. So first class field is public int order ID, and second one is uh, uh, order ID. Okay. So now the question was order ID and order. Where are they gonna store? With whatever we have learned, order ID should be on stack and underscore order should be on heap, right? But that's not how it works. Everything whichever we are defined inside a reference, basically complex data type, it will be stored on the heap, not on stack. Okay. So the entire object of class A is allocated on the heap. So here, if you see order ID and order, both will be stored on heap. Okay. So these small tricky question might come, and sometimes we get confused. They want to know that are you very clear on primitive and non-primitive data type? If int is a primitive data type, int represents a primitive data type, why it should go and get stored in the heap? The reason is because whenever we are dealing with object, the entire object will be stored on heap. Whatever we have defined inside it, that will also get stored on heap. Yeah. This was a very interesting question where he wanted me to explain what if an exception is thrown inside a catch block. Okay. So basically, whenever an exception occurs inside a catch block, the problem could be, the original exception might get lost, you know. So to avoid that, we use something throw new custom exception. And we basically store that it actually helps us to preserve the original stack trace. It's kind of a throw the way we use it. Okay. If a constructor requires too many dependencies, which solid principle is violated? Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I hope you know the answer. And the answer is obviously single responsibility principle, because what we want is class should only responsible to do one thing, and that one thing he must do it well. We don't want a class to be cluttered with a lot of responsibility. So this was just a random question. So I answered like single responsibility principle will be violated. What is a record in C sharp? So as you know, record was introduced in I think C sharp 9. Okay. It is basically immutable data type. Okay. Obviously, it is a reference type, but it supports value based, equality. So whenever we are comparing, if let's say you are doing comparison based on classes, then it will be compared based on the reference type. But comparison happen in records on the value type. Okay, on the values, not the references. Class is obviously mutable because we can update and change and do all those things, but you cannot do in the record. Record basically helps us to achieve the better DTO. DTO is basically data transfer object. So when I'll come to API questions in the next video, part 3, which was which is also going to be very interesting. In that, I will explain you what DTO is and how it actually helps us to transfer the data, okay, to the client and from client to our the way we're gonna store. I'll explain you everything in that video. Okay. So use class when behavior and identity matter, but use record when data and immutability matters. When once initialize the value or whatever value it has got, it should not be updated. Because think in a situation like whenever a client is requesting some data, and if it can be updated, doesn't make sense, right? If let's say he's asking for record of Shubham, he should not get a record of Ravi, right? And that's exactly how it works. Which records? It cannot be altered. Once defined, once initialized, that will remain the same. Okay. Now, yes, very great follow-up question was that he gave me a code snippet that where a teacher is the base class and a student is the child class. Now, the question was which constructor will be fired first? Okay. You can see teacher T1, the object reference variable at first is pointing to student and then it is pointing to teacher. The question is, which constructor will be fired first? The answer is, no matter where the object reference variable is pointing to, always the parent constructor will be initialized first. But there's one trick question, which let me explain you. Give me a second. So let's say there are few class fields inside the parent, and there are few class fields in the child. Imagine a parent class has got int id equals to whatever. Same uh, int id equals to something in the child class. So what do you think? Which class fields is going to initialize first, or will be called first? The answer is, when we are talking about class field, actually the child class fields are going to initialize first. The reason is, can you imagine? Can you please answer this question, that why child class field is going to be called first? The reason is basically, uh, let's say a parent is trying to invoke child, and if the value is not there, it will give an error. So just to avoid that, child class fields are going to be initialized first, then the parent one. Otherwise, as far as constructor is concerned, it's always the parent which is going to be called first. No. Yeah. Have you used yield keyword? Basically, he asked me. So yield keyword is help. I mean, if you want to answer in a one line, yield keyword helps us to, you know, basically helps us to achieve safe iteration. You know, where safe iteration, what I mean is, when let's say there are 10 values to be fetched, okay? And if you want to return at the fifth one, okay? Let's say there's a loop going on, and by the time it reaches to fifth repetition, and if you want to return that, so safe iteration is that it will have all the four values till save it and return it to the caller. So that's where importance of is keyword is that, okay? It returns I enumerable, and that controls the duration pace. How speed up is that, and up to which point you want to go. So it basically helps us to do safe iteration. Understanding value types and reference type. If you have giving enough attention, then you'll realize value type stored on stack. Reference type is stored on heap. Okay. Then yeah, if we copy the value type, we will create the full duplicate. But while copying the reference type, it will create a new reference to the same object. Okay. Only the reference variable will be pointing to the new place. Now, example is int struct enum bool. Reference type example is class interface delegate. Even string is a reference type. So this is also one of the question which often comes up, like string, whether string is a value type or a reference type. It actually is a reference type. Okay. Reference type basically gets cleaned up and truly managed by garbage collector. When we are dealing with a value type, we don't have to, because once that line execute, the stack will be anyways clear. So we don't have to worry much on value type part. Now, yeah. So in dependency injection, there are three ways we can inject the dependency. One is through transient, one is through scope, one is through singleton. I will be covering this question in detail in part 3. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And guys, please share this. Please like the channel so that it reaches out to, appropriate user, our own developer, .NET developer community. Maybe somebody is having an interview in this coming weekend, who knows. So that's why please, humble request to subscribe and share this channel with all your friends who might be looking for an interview. Okay, so now we're done with this. So only request will be, keep practicing, keep upskilling yourself. If you're working professional like me, even I am, so every weekend, I mean, at least I give at least 6 hours every weekend upskill myself. So please do that. Okay, and please make sure you check out on the comment and pinned comment, and even the description where I already have shared the my personal interview experience with Deloitte and Capgemini part 1. Wait for part 3. It will be coming very soon. And my interview with Deloitte is coming, I think, next week. Then the part two also I'm going to release, and anyone who's going to use that, please go ahead and read them out. It might going to help you, going forward. Who knows which question comes in any interview. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe.